Thank you, Dean Iverson. So the year was 2006, and I was sitting on a conveyor belt that ran through Harvard Law School. It would make frequent drop-offs at law firms around the country. And I just finished clerkships at 2 Houston law firms. The food was great. The people were okay. The pay was amazing. But I found at the end of the summer, the only thing that was missing was me. And that's when I received a call from a high school football buddy of mine. Now, if you go back with me to 1997, I am a 165-pound strong safety on a wet day. I'm a much better student and athlete, but I love the game of football. And this friend of mine, Alfonso Longoria, he was a 5'10" offensive guard, which is not a good size for a guy who plays on the line. And so we quickly became friends. So he calls me in the middle of law school and he says, "Let's go work a football camp." I said, "Okay, where are we going?" He said, "South Carolina." I said, "Why does anyone ever go to South Carolina?" He said, "Well, Steve Spurrier just took the job at the University of South Carolina. Come with me and let's work this camp." So I go. I'm sitting in the back of the room. I'm fiddling on my BlackBerry. It was 2006, so I still had a BlackBerry at the time. Coach walks in and he says, "Listen, someone did not show up as a volunteer coach. I need a volunteer." So I kind of look around. I'm thinking, hey, I'm from Texas, right? I played Texas high school football. I said, "Sure." He says, "All right, son, where do you coach?" I said, "Mount Pleasant High School." "Mount Pleasant High School, great." So I get 40 sixth graders. For the next 48 hours, I'm coaching these kids how to backpedal, turn at 45 degrees and 90 degrees, and it is the best 48 hours of my life. And one night in the dorm, I'm sitting there and I'm listening to these kids, and I realize that these are young men who normally would never become friends. So we're talking about the kid from Westlake and the kid from Weslaco. These are kids who are divided by neighborhoods and income gaps, but there's something about this little oval pigskin that's bringing them into the realm of friendship. And that's when I knew I had to become a football coach. So I did what any sensible person does at the age of 26. I called my mother. Conversation goes like this: "Mom, I want to become a football coach." "Mom, that's great, honey. Will your law firm let you take this on as a pro bono project and kind of split some time?" I said, "No, Mom, I think this is what I want to do. I want to become a football coach. I want to do this full time." Let me put your dad on the phone. Now, my mom was a 3rd grade elementary teacher. My dad's a Baptist minister, so you can understand there's very little room for deviation in the Roberts household. Dad gets on the phone. He says, "Son, what am I hearing about you wanting to become a football coach?" I said, "Dad, that's what I want to do." He said, "You realize that your name is on those law school loans." So before that, I had gone to the Kennedy School of Government, racked up $80,000 in debt. Now I'm at Harvard Law School. I racked up another $150,000 in debt. So I'm faced with close to $250,000 in debt. I have 2 law firm offers on my coffee table, each for $150K per year. So the first thing I do is I call each law firm up and I say, "Thank you very much for the opportunity, but I don't want to work with your firm." And so it's like this bad breakup. Managing partner says, "Wait, was it us? Did something happen? Was the office, was it too cold, too warm? Is it Houston? Is it humidity? Is it, you can work in the Chicago office?" I said, "No, listen, I want to become a football coach." He said, "Oh, that's great, okay, well, good luck with that." So, I write letters to every team in the NFL. There are 32 teams, I write at least 2 to each team. I'll write letters to the top 50 programs in the NCAA. And as soon as I throw a letter in the mail, a rejection comes back. And I start plastering them on my wall. Now, I'm a third-year law student at Harvard. My classmates are going to clerk for Scalia and to work at the White House, and I'm waiting to get a training camp internship, and it finally happens. Herm Edwards, who was the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, calls me and says, hey, listen, something's wrong with you, but I've got a job for you. You're a training camp intern. He said, listen, here's the thing. No pay, 18-hour days, no benefits. I said, great, that's just what I was looking for. What a deal. So I head to Kansas City. I spent 7 years in the NFL, 5 in the NFL, 2 in college. And so what I want to talk with you tonight is, I want to talk with you through the 3 rules of leadership. And I want to bring this to the micro level. 3 rules of leadership that I learned from my time in the NFL. First is this: script, don't scroll. Rule number 1, script, don't scroll. Right now in America, 80% of the people who own smartphones check their phone as soon as they wake up. It's the first thing that they do. They check Twitter, they check Instagram, they check Facebook. They check the storylines to see what has happened while they've been asleep. We have created a society in which it is easy to be passive. It is easy to walk down Speedway and scroll the thumb and see what the feed gives us. What's lacking on the personal leadership dimension are people who are willing to script. And this is what I mean by script. Being intentional about your day. I believe in this, and type this into your little laptops or text this on your phone or write it if you still believe in writing on actual paper. You must set your intention for the day. Because no one values your time as much as you do. If you walk into my bathroom, and that seems kind of odd if you were actually walking into my bathroom, but if you were to walk into my bathroom and look up on my mirror, you would see it plastered with all sorts of writings. I write 3 things every Sunday. Who I want to be to Hillary, my wife, the man that I want to be to my 4 kids, Dylan, Sydney, Jack, and Delaney, just turned 3 weeks, by the way. You can clap for her. She appreciates it. And then who I want to be as a professional. So I want to be the best husband that I can be to Hillary each and every day. And for me, that means spending at a minimum 30 minutes a day. And I quantify that. Where the phone is off, I'm not checking email, we're spending quality time. That means that I have to read at least 3 books to each one of my kids each day. That means that I need to prepare at least 3 hours for each lecture in class. So being intentional and really harnessing the power of intention for the leader is a necessity. Rule number 2. Choose purpose over position. Choose purpose over position. This is one thing that I found. Titles make for poor traveling companions. It's at the University of Texas. It's 2000. A guy calls me, a buddy. Hey, Daron, I'm running for president. I'd love for you to be my vice president. I said, man, I appreciate that. You know, let me sleep on it. Let me think about it. 30 minutes later, call. Young lady calls, hey, Daron, what's going on? Hey, I'm running for president. I'd love for you to be my vice president. I said, okay, let me think on it. Got 3 calls that night, all wanted me to become their vice president. So I'm lying in the bed and I'm looking up at the ceiling and I'm starting to think to myself, well, heck, why don't I just run for president? Right? If they think I'm good enough to be vice president, let me just run for president. So I run for president. I had a platform. And I hit the pavement, and then midway through the campaign, and we're speaking to hundreds of organizations, I had to stop and ask myself, I said, why am I doing this? And if I'm really honest with myself, it's because the position of president of student government, at the time we were the largest university in the United States, 50,000 students strong. Being able to have that position, to me, created value. But in reality, I was doing a disservice to the student body. This is a trap that most of us will fall into. With the helicopter parents that some of you have back home, I'm sure your mother's been texting you, hey, what are you doing tonight? Where are you going? Have you studied at least 3 hours? Are you getting enough rest? Are you eating enough meals? Right? This is something that, in the age of putting ourselves in a position to always excel, get into the top schools, get the best internships, get to Goldman, get to McKinsey, go to Harvard, we find ourselves grabbing and holding on to positions that we really don't want and that we really don't understand, and positions for which we don't have a true indication of why we're doing it. So find your purpose. And passion's tough. Here's what I found about passion. It's tough because it's fleeting. It changes. Purpose is this current that runs, and it's a consistent, constant in your life. And for me, it hit me, my purpose was teaching. Now you may ask, how does a man who was a football coach in the NFL think that teaching was his purpose? When I look back at the most pivotal experiences of my life, the ones that really moved the needle for me, they all involve teaching in some way. So taking the rookie with the Detroit Lions, the guy who no one had given a chance to, a guy we took in the late rounds, and seeing that guy start at Green Bay and do a good job, bringing him up to speed, walking him through coverages, that was teaching. Or taking the kid in West Virginia, a recruit that we didn't want, and coaching him and coaching him and coaching him and coaching him up past the capacity of what his 40-yard dash and his high jump would indicate. It was teaching. And that's why I'm here at the University of Texas. And then finally this, shape the game that you play. Don't play the game that you find. Shape the game that you play. Don't play the game that you find. It is easy to become this listless soul that wanders from group to group, from circle to circle, the conformist, the one who has to change that edginess that people don't like. Fortune favors the bold. It favors the person who's willing to go outside of convention. And many of you think you know exactly what you want to do, so hold your hands up if you know what you want to do when you graduate from the University of Texas. Yeah, so all of you are wrong. You're all completely wrong. Okay? You think you know, but you don't know. And Steve Jobs put it best, his 2005 commencement address to Stanford. He said this, you can only connect the dots going backwards. I didn't know I was going to a football camp, and I was a law student, but I found that purpose in my life. So be willing to step outside of your comfort zone. Grow a comfort level with discomfort. And shape the game that you play. Just don't really play the game that you find. I'm going to leave you with this. 2005, University of Texas football team plays USC. Clash of the Titans. Texas wins that game, in case some of you don't know. And in the locker room after the game, Mac Brown is standing before his team and staff members, and he says this, he says, listen, man, don't let this be the defining moment of your lives. Don't let this moment, and the world's telling them that they've beaten the best team in college football history, that they are at the pinnacle of their lives, and their coach is telling them, don't let this be the high watermark of your lives. This is the same for you. Don't let the University of Texas, and Lord knows that I love UT and all that it stands for, but don't let this experience be the high watermark of your lives. Thank you.